puppy dog.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition. How's everybody doing tonight? Let's see who we got stacking up. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, this is for entertainment purposes only, and everybody's innocent until proven into a court of law. Welcome, Gary Spikes, Penny Van, Rebecca. We got Barb. Hello there, Barb. And let's see here. Tess H. Welcome. And let's see here. Gene Hudson. Nice to have you there, Gene. Glad everybody's starting to come in. So we got something interesting tonight. We have some new psychics that are going to join us, which is going to be interesting. Tammy Johnson, welcome. Yes, make sure to like and subscribe. But we're going back to Bardstown, Kentucky again. So our hearts do go out to the family and friends of everybody. In any of the cases we work, Lorna, welcome, everybody. So it's very important that we try to do what we can do to help facilitate recovering any remains. Hello there, Nate, welcome. I was just thinking about you. Sean, welcome. Liana. So we do have new faces tonight, which I'm really excited to bring on. So, but Crystal Rogers. So what have you found out there, Bob?
Well, Lala found a bunch of stuff, but after she got through doing her thing, I went online and looked at the news. I've been staying away from it so I wouldn't spoil anything for her. And I found out that the FBI arrested the boyfriend for the murder.
Yes, that is correct. Welcome, Dee and Eric and Luna. So yeah, they did on a $10 million bond.
And one other thing, somebody else got shot, right?
So we'll cover some of that, but they got a $10 million bond, and he's always been up to the Supreme Court trying to get that bond lower because he feels that that's a little excessive.
Aww.
And he does not like the judge that's involved because evidently he made a ruling in his custody battle, and he feels like he's prejudiced in a court of law. And everything, Joanne Stewart got denied.
A lot of defendants, if you can't make a good case, you go after the judge and the district attorney, everybody else. When you can't defend yourself,
to slow it up. Yeah, absolutely. I know how that works, and I think the American people do. But Crystal Rogers, let's do a real quick recap on this. So this time, ladies and gentlemen, we actually told the psychics who we were working on. Name, location, everything, because we are trying to recover the remains. That is the key part of this investigation, and also some details. Now, we do know the FBI has one person in custody, which we'll cover, but Crystal Marie Rogers disappeared from a home in Bardstown, Kentucky on July 13th, 2015. Her boyfriend at the time said she just disappeared from the home overnight. Her car was found nearby on a highway 2 days later. Rogers' family believes boyfriend was involved in foul play. He was considered a suspect after he broke off an interview in 2016. Remember that? An unsolved shooting interview where him and his brother was being interviewed, and his brother told him to get his ass up and quit talking. So in 2023, 2 men, including 2 former boyfriends, were indicted on charges connected to the case, allegedly. At the time of her disappearance, the 35-year-old mother of 5 was living with her boyfriend, Brooks Houck. Now, if we remember, several people identified this person that could be alleged tied to the Jason Ellis case. And we had composites that were sketched and presented, if we remember that correctly. The 2-year-old son and other children, Huck is the last person to have seen her, stating she was on her phone playing games at their home when she went to bed. She was gone the next morning when he woke up, and her car was not in the driveway, ladies and gentlemen. Her family began to worry about multiple attempts to contact her that day because they failed. 2 days later, on July 5th, Crystal's 2000 Chevrolet Impala Now, why does this car keep coming into the play on other cases, it seems like?
Mm-hmm.
Was founded with a flat tire by a mile marker 14 on the Bluegrass Parkway.
By her dad.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if we remember on Jason Ellis's case, the interstate, the Bluegrass Parkway, and that stage was set up as well. But the keys were still in the ignition, and her purse and cell phone was also found inside. She was officially reported missing by her mother, Sherry Ballard, the same day. The Ballard family was very vocal about their suspicion of Brooks having some sort of involvement in Roger's disappearance, Crystal's, on this case. And during an interview, Crystal's sister said Brooks has not offered once to search or help or do anything for our family. On July 8th, Huck was brought into Nelson County Sheriff's Office for questioning. Nuck, Brooks' brother in the Barstown, which was a former police officer, called mid-interview, told him not to speak in the involvement of the disappearance. At this time, Nick stopped cooperating with the sheriff's office. We actually played that snippet, remember?
Yep.
We heard them. Shut the hell up. Don't talk. They're not there to help you. So it was interesting. The next day, Nick was called to testify in front of a grand jury, which led police officers to suspect him also. He had some involvement in the disappearance. It is at this time that Nick stopped cooperating with the sheriff's office. However, he agreed to a polygraph test. Remember that polygraph test we showed? And it is this time that Nick stopped cooperating with the sheriff's office. It was the interview was agreed to a polygraph test after being interviewed by the state police, which is Kentucky. Nick finally took a test on July 20th after being contacted by the FBI. And we have on record the examiner expressed grave concerns about the results with the Barstown Police Chief McCoven. And that name keeps popping up, doesn't it? October 16, 2015, Nick was fired from the Barstown Police Department, and Brooks was officially named as a suspect in the case. A white Buick became an important piece of evidence when a private investigator found that one was parked at Huck Farm at night Roger disappeared. Well, that's interesting. The Huck's brother's grandmother, Anna Whitesides, owned a white Buick, but they sold it several weeks after Rogers went missing. Authorities issued a subpoena for the 82-year-old to testify in front of a grand jury. The subpoena stated the car may have been used to dispose of a body clean and so an intent to prevent evidence from being discovered. Whiteside's family refused to testify in the court of a grand jury. Attorney Jason Floyd said her statement to police and the car's buying information was enough. Go fly a kite. We're not talking. A judge later ruled to keep all future proceedings involving Whitesides confidential. Now, we know beyond a reasonable doubt why things are kept confidential. I'll let you speculate on that. In August 2016, the police searched the residence of Whitesides and Nick Houck for DNA. Despite multiple search efforts and a $100,000 reward being offered for any information, Rogers remains missing. Raymond Pinora, if I said that wrong, I do apologize. Nelson County Sheriff, appointed 2019, stated his commitment to solving this case in an interview in the agency has a good idea what happened to Crystal Rogers, and his mission is to find enough facts and evidence to make an arrest. Now, Tommy Ballard, don't forget, that is her father. Remember, he was out hunting with his grandson, shot and killed, murdered in cold blood. Now, allegedly, they found the firearm. It's being tested. And the firearm is allegedly tied to Houck and his brother.
I think if you go do a little research, they found a trail.
So, Exhibit A, ladies and gentlemen. Let me see if I can hit the right buttons here. Okay, and action. Tell me if y'all hear the audio. I don't remember if I clicked the audio on it.
No.
Mm-mm.
All right, stand by. Let's see here. Let me close it. And rewind it and stand by here. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Try this again.
Mhm.
It's don't let me share the audio. I can hear it, but y'all can't. All right, stand by. I'll bring it up on another screen. All right, here, let me type this in. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see here.
Hear something.
Yeah, that's the audio.
A little bit of standby music while I type something in.
Got it.
Okay, here. We'll just start with this one. Okay. And action here. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, about that. I had everything propped, but it is not wanting to cooperate. Let's see here. Oh, we got it.
Ballard is no stranger to this courthouse. She has been here many times over the years fighting for custody of her grandson. In fact, on Wednesday, right after learning Brooks Houck had been arrested, she was back and her family returned. It was a smile that was hard to miss. Sherry Ballard emerging from a Nelson County courtroom Friday, beaming. Crystal Rogers' mother and two siblings had spent more than 2 hours behind closed doors. On the other side of those doors, loved ones had waited, wondering if today they'd be reunited with Rogers' youngest son. He's been living with his father, Brooks Houck, since Rogers disappeared in 2015. The proceedings related to custody of the boy, who turns 11 next month, are confidential, and neither side would say how the judge ruled. Houck's mother, Rosemary, ignored our questions while Ballard told us she couldn't comment. Here's what we know. While Brooks Houck was being booked Wednesday on charges of murder and tampering with evidence, Sherry Ballard was at the courthouse taking steps to see her grandson. Her fight to see the little boy began almost as soon as her daughter disappeared. In October 2015, Houck was named a suspect. In the following January, the Ballards filed a motion to keep him from leaving the state with a then 3-year-old. At the time, Sherry Ballard and her husband were seeing him every other Saturday, but Rogers' 4 other children weren't allowed to.
They're just kind of giving up on seeing him. They're like, are we ever going to get to see him or not?
Through the years, Ballard fought for custody and visitation, and in February of 2021, she was denied the right to see her grandson, with the judge ruling there is clear and convincing evidence significant hostility exists between the Ballard family and Houck, such that it poses a significant risk of emotional harm to the child. But Ballard never gave up hope Brooks Houck would be charged with her daughter's murder and that she would once again see her grandson. And Friday's smile was telling.
You feel good, Sherry?
Yeah. Thank you.
In Nelson County, Lauren Adams, WLKY News.
All right. Lala, you're up, and I'll prep the next video while you're talking.
All right. So she showed me, she kept showing me this big, ugly tree. I mean, extremely odd shaped tree. And I just didn't know what it meant. And so I got the pendulum out. He printed out a map of the area. And it went towards, was it Fredericksburg? A little past Nelson. Anyway, right next door on the map, when I Googled it, was something called the tree park, and it was that tree. It was that big ugly tree. Maybe it's called the donkey tree. I don't know. I'll post it. And so I forgot to end the reading yesterday, and when I went to sleep, she came in my dream, and she showed herself in the ground, but this place was very well done. So whoever did this took time, made it perfect. And so I was in the ground looking up. And as I was looking up, someone was pulling a concrete slab over the hole. And I heard that sound of concrete sliding on each other. And it was terrifying. I feel that she is by that tree somewhere on a land that he owns or that he takes care of, something like that. But the tree is a marker where she is.
Interesting. All right, next up, Kelly Jo, come on down. Welcome. Introduce yourself. You're muted, hon. Kelly, you're muted. Your mic's muted. There you go. Unmuted again. You're muted again. The gremlins are getting you. There you go.
Yep. Okay, there. I'm a clairvoyant, psychic, and medium. And I kept feeling like I was bludgeoned and choked, or she was. And I feel like it's like 20 and a half minutes on 150. Is there a 150 out there?
I have to look at the map.
They kept saying 150, 150. I have no idea. And so it's 20 and a half minutes on 150. And I feel like shallow grave, and you know how there's like ditches and then, you know, the trees, you know, how on the road, well, she's at 20 and a half minutes on 150, and she's on the right-hand side. If you drive 20 and a half minutes, she's in a shallow grave along the tree line.
Okay. Thank you. Stand by if you want. Hold on. And Exhibit B. And this time I got the audio.
This morning, the case of Crystal Rogers is one of Bardstown's 5 unsolved murders, and now the significant arrest of former boyfriend Brooks Houck. As you can imagine, this is a third family and Bardstown have been praying for. Our team has been in Bardstown all day long. Isaiah Kim Martinez is hearing from residents who have followed this so closely. But first, Shay McAllister is live outside the Nelson County Courthouse. Shay, can you explain the charges here that we learned about today?
Absolutely, Doug. I mean, today's arrest certainly just absolutely huge news in this community. Brooks Houck was arrested by Kentucky State Police troopers and special agents with the FBI early this morning. We've learned that arrest happened on a job site where he was doing construction.
Remember that.
He was initially booked into the Nelson County jail, and he did take 2 mugshots, one in a T-shirt, the second in an orange jumpsuit. He was then transferred down to the Hardin County Detention Center, and that is where he is right now. Take a look at his latest mugshot. You can see it right here.
Remember
he was booked in an orange
submitted?
jumpsuit, something many folks here in Bardstown told us they hoped to see, but in some ways didn't know if they ever would. Houck is facing 2 different charges. He is facing murder and he is facing tampering with physical evidence, both of these charges in connection to the death of Crystal Rogers. We want to get you the information you need to know right now. So here are 3 things about this arrest. First of all, he is facing those 2 charges, 1 count of each. Again, it is murder and tampering with physical evidence. A Nelson County judge placed Houck under a $10 million cash bond. That is a huge cash bond, especially in this community. And as you know, Houck has been the main suspect in this case since 2015. He was the last person to see Crystal Rogers alive. Well, those charges were filed here at the Nelson County Courthouse early this morning, and within
G-Man's involved today. All right, let's bring Nancy in. Nancy, welcome to the show.
Hey, good evening.
Nice having you. Introduce yourself.
I am Nancy Planetta, otherwise known as the Wiccan Vixen. I have been involved in the paranormal for almost 30 years in both the entertainment side as well as the The physical side, I'm considered a medium. I hate the word psychic. You will never hear that word come out of my mouth. It is not a word I enjoy. I think it's very almost offensive in a way, because I think what we are just normal people who have different amplified senses, kind of like when you look at basketball players, football players, they have different gifts, different amplified abilities. I think we're no different than they are. It's just our amplified abilities are in different areas. I have worked on several cases that have helped with law enforcement before, but I was an EMT, so I had definite connections within law enforcement. This case was interesting because I'm not a person, I don't like to read about people before I try to track. And I am a person who believes I don't need to really touch an object, but if I touch something like I was telling Layla the other night, if I reach out and touch like a picture of that person, sometimes the energy will push back at me and it'll give me a flood of images. And I know what's mine and what's not mine. And I've always said it's kind of a discernment you learn early on, this is not mine. I can tell you with this case, it's very interesting because it gave me directionals. Like it was basically west first, then north, which I found interesting. Like she was not driving that vehicle. That was abandoned. She was not even in that vehicle. That vehicle was a decoy. And I think that is what she meant by west first, because I think they kind of took her things west, but she went north. Very interesting because I kept hearing Christmas music while I was, this is so strange. I'm like, why am I hearing, what the holy hell, this is embarrassing. But it was like songs like Oh Little Town of Bethlehem. It was very religiously based Christmas music. It was not, it was definitely not like Sleigh Bells Ring, Are You Listening? It was very like Silent Night, Holy Night. It was religiously based. Mm-hmm. I kept getting the image of, I want to call it a monastery, but it's not a monastery. I want to say holy place. She's very near a place that it even has a holy name. And I'm like, I can't, and it has to do with Jesus. It has to do with Jesus specifically. And I'm like, she's a little bit north of there. And she is, you hit it dead on the head. There's a tree, a very specific tree. But there's a tree line also. And I think they buried her. She was buried initially. I think she was shot. I'm going to be very honest because I get a very harsh, fast boom to the back and then a feel to the back of the head, almost like she went down sideways and then cracked her head. But I don't think she was bludgeoned. I really think she was shot because it takes my breath away.
I want to add, but 5 or 6 times Lala has said, what does Santa have to do with it? What does Santa have to do with it?
Christmas. I don't know what it is. And I'm like, why? What?
And
it's almost like
it was like Mary and stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the Holy Trinity.
Scene.
Yeah.
She saw a nativity
scene.
Scene.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, Little Town of Bethlehem. That's what I was thinking. The nativity scene. Oh, Little Town of Bethlehem.
That was a song
and that's so funny.
Recognize.
Yep.
That is so funny.
You're in sync.
And here I am. I mean, I'm a pagan, so for me, it's like, why am I being shown these things? I even saw like a statue of almost like an angel, and I'm thinking, what is she near a church? I mean, there's like a very huge religious element here, and it's a community type religious element, which is very strange. Like I felt like hallowed ground, but she's beyond the hallowed ground. She's not on the hallowed ground. She's a little bit beyond that hallowed ground. And I do agree with you. I think she was initially buried though, and I think somebody came back and then put something on top of her to make it harder for her to be scented by dogs. I think it was very specifically intentional. I didn't see from her angle. I saw from like an omniscient point of view where I was looking down and I could literally see, like I said, I feel like I was in a monastery or something. It was weird. But I can tell you, the only other thing that kind of hit me, and that's why I said there's a definite Jesus component to this, because I kept hearing the Nazarene. And that is Jesus. That is how he was referred to. And I know that. And I'm like, okay, what does a Nazarene have to do with it? I swear to God, if they buried her in a church crypt, I'm going to freak out right now. But I don't get that feeling. Like I said, she is off holy ground, but she's very close to it. And it's not small, like little country churchyard holy ground. It's like a, how do I put this? It's like an acreage,
Right.
a religious acreage. So, but it's to the north of where she's from. And like I said, they took the car to the west intentionally. And here's the thing. There is definitely a connection here on the LEO side. And because I kept seeing the star, and I'm like, and it was weird because it was funny because it was almost duplicitous. You had the star, and I kept thinking Polaris, Polaris, Polaris. Okay, north. That's where I got north. I know north is okay, Polaris. But then the star would like twist this way, and I'm like, oh no, wait. Okay, hold on. So that means 2 stars. So we've got North Polaris. Are you trying to tell me another star? And then I'm thinking about it, and it started like to morph a little bit and put these little dots on the end of it. And I'm like, oh, that's a sheriff's star. I know what that is. Okay. That's because we're not talking like, you're not talking, that's not state trooper. That's sheriff. That's a sheriff's office or a local PD. So I definitely feel there's something on the justice system side of this that is involved. I think she had knowledge of things that were probably be very devastating to not just, I think they arrested the right person. Because that was my first gut shot. Oh, yeah, nope, boyfriend definitely involved. But there was more than one. There was at least 2 other people involved in this.
Mm-hmm.
And
You said 3.
A definite, I was just going to say, and if I'm any judge of anything, there is a third, not maybe directly, not like the other 2, definitely hands-on.
Right.
The third is a female, which I found very interesting because I'm like, that's a definite female feel to that. Mm-hmm. And the planning, I think the female had a lot to do with it. Mm-hmm. Like she was kind of almost like a mastermind. But this was, I think there's a drug connection here, big time. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of, like I kept seeing money changing hands, which tells me people were being paid off, people were on the take. Mm-hmm. So there was a definite push to protect the boyfriend. And I think there was a lot of anger with the others involved in this because he was very sloppy. And I can almost hear it. Like people saying, you know, you were so sloppy. If you go down for this, we're not going down with you. Mm-hmm. And yet they continue to cover for him. I don't know if they're ever going to get the full answers of what happened because I think they're all going to lie to try to protect themselves. Even if it looks like one's turning on the other, it's going to be a lie to deflect their own guilt. But to find her, you've got the religious, like I'm going to call it a compound. It's not a cult though. This is definitely Christian based. You go beyond that a little bit north and there's like a tree line and there is a very unusual tree out. There's a very weird tree, but she's going to be between that tree and the tree line, far enough away to where nobody would have seen them doing anything out there. And not only that, they didn't drive a vehicle out there. They literally parked a vehicle somewhere else, and I'm not joking. They literally humped her like in a garbage bag.
That's what I said.
So the guy arrested, his brother was a cop who got involved in this mess and got fired.
Oh, he should have gotten more than fired.
Yeah, we already know that.
Yeah. And there's another connection there in it's not just the brother. There's somebody else in there that's on the inside. And I think I really think it has to do with, I think there's drug running going on in that area, to be very honest with you. And it's very, very profitable. And it's going to cause big problems because it's still ongoing.
There's 5 murders in that county, 5 different murders. And it's just.
That sounds right. Well, I think one of the reasons she died was because, again, she had knowledge, insider knowledge. And I think it was something she was using against him, the boyfriend, where it was like if you do this, I'm going to do this type situation. And it just finally, well, I don't even think it was his choice at that point. I think he was basically told she's got to go. It's too high of a risk. She's got to go. And they really felt they had enough clout in the county to keep her family contained.
Right.
And that's just kind of what I got out of it. Like I said, I still can't, the freaking Christmas carols are driving me nuts. It's really, because it's when you focus on it, it's like you can hear them, and it's like I know I'm right there, but I'm not quite getting it. But like I said, it's the Nazarene. It's got something to do with the Nazarene, and it's a religious complex. It's a monastery. It's something. It's like it's beautiful. It's kind of out of its element too. It's like you would never know it wasn't supposed to be there. It's really pretty, but it's like a retreat. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. Like a retreat.
Church of the Nazarene, Cedar Crest Drive, Brandenburg, Kentucky.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Like I said, I can just say that's it's to the north of where she was. And it's not a far distance north, but it's north of where she was. And that's specifically why they went west, because they knew that if they went west, there's actually, I think there's a more wooded area to the west. You have another city directed to the west, but beyond that city, there's literally, it's all woods. And so you could send 50,000 search parties out there every day of the week for the next 20 years, and you're not going to find anybody.
Yep.
I mean, between the wildlife and everything else, it's just good luck. It's called bluegrass country for a reason, and I'm sure it's because there are a lot of bodies that have fertilized that bluegrass. I'm not joking. It's not hard to lose people in areas like that, but that's not where she is. It was a ploy. Like, oh wait, this is our drug running corridor. Oh wait, this is where you assume, we're going to toss her. No. She's north. Like literally take the city and go north. And she's north.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well,
That's all I
thank you
can
so
say, but
much. Yeah, that's
wish I
great.
had more.
If you want to hang back out, go ahead, Bob. If you want to
No,
hang
I'm
back
about
out,
to
we'll
wave
bring
it
you
at
back
Nancy.
on here in a few. Thank you. All right, next up, Angela. Come on down. Welcome.
Thank you. Es ist so zu sein.
Oh, wie geht's meiner Freundin? Guten Tag.
Guten Tag.
Was ist los?
Wie geht's?
Yes.
She's like, what? What's up?
Yeah.
Introduce yourself.
Was gibt's, which is what's up. So the thing that I kept getting images more than anything else. The first image I saw was a construction hat, a bloody construction hat. And I saw a hammer, and I saw a small hatchet as well involved in the case. And I was told that tools were after death, that those tools were used on her afterwards, like after she was dead. So to try to dismember the body or break up the body in some way to make it easier to hide. What I was getting to, I kept seeing, of course, I also use the runes here too. They kept showing when I drew the rune Langus, which is, water. I could probably hold this up, but it's maybe hard to see. But this was to be water. I kept seeing a shallow grave next to either a creek bed of some kind. I kept seeing a highway, and that you would go over the highway down, you see a tree line. Okay, and then there's a creek bed that runs along it, and she's along the creek bed. Like, there's a small grave that's been very carefully concealed, and it's along this creek bed of where this tree line is. I kept getting also that there was a lot of money. I kept seeing money, and with my runes, I'm only supposed to have one set of the word from the rune from money, which is Feyu, but it actually appeared. I'm only supposed to have one rune. I've gone through the rune set, but suddenly I have now 3 runes for money that no idea where they came from, and they're in the same rune set. They're all quartz. They're all Feyu. I got Feyu and Ansus, Feyu again, and Ansus. So and with Ansus and with Feyu, I kept seeing the rune Helgelas, which is interference. So I kept seeing that. I keep seeing money changing hands. So I see there's like some sort of drug or illegal transaction, and I see Helgelas also as for interference, interference from the law, like being obstructing this. I also was seeing thorns, so wooded area, like, but I keep seeing a highway, and then you go over the railing, like you go over the road, go down, creek bed, tree line. There's where she is. I kept seeing also that this person, responsible party, male, very arrogant, extremely arrogant. He feels very, very secure, like nobody's going to touch him. However, I kept seeing another male rushing in to confront this male. That kind of will rush in and be the hero. He actually goes ahead, goes very forward, very gallant, with a lot of gallantry. Goes forward, is very determined that justice gets served, and it's just this one individual that comes rushing in and is able to really shake this guy's arrogance and sense of ego, and gets the information and gets this closed. I kept seeing closure. I kept seeing like this is going to be wrapped up soon. I kept seeing a lot of revelations here. Because I kept seeing this. I see that this protection, like victory, right? You see this rune here. This is Tiwaz, but it also means north. Okay. Also represents north, a direction, like the North Star, like you were talking about. I kept pulling that up. And this is Sowilo. So like a revelation, right? This is a shock, like, wow. And then I kept bringing this up also too. So this is enlightenment. So everything's going to be revealed. So what's hidden is going to be brought out into the light. And I feel like it's connected to a man who's also very, probably I would say, very secure, very hard-headed, but very determined, as much as this suspect is arrogant, just as determined to get to the bottom of this. Very upstanding, very moralisch, as we would say in German. He's going to get to the bottom of this. And I'm looking forward to this because there's going to be one police officer or investigator that's going to outshine everybody else and really be the one who brings us all together and sees it to the end. But it will take a lot of determination to do so. And I kept seeing this also as well. A lot being come to light. So this is Kenya's. It represents light. Like is shining light, and then following your intuition, and like following that intuition reveals, like leads you to the right place. So whoever is investigating this, this male that is taking charge and kind of taking matters into his own hands to get this resolved, he needs to follow his intuition. He needs to follow his gut, and it will lead him to the truth. If he follows his intuition, and he's going to get to the bottom of this and know exactly where this evidence is going to be found. And that's really all I have. But I kept getting a highway, I feel like now I do get a sense of direction. I still feel like this is very near the home. It's less than an hour from where she lived, is where her remains are, and probably within 15 minutes of that.
Okay, thank you. Next up, Melinda, come on down. Welcome and introduce yourself.
So my name is Melinda. I'm a medium. I'm a psychic detective. I've been doing this most of my life. So now mine is more in detail, but that's the way I do it because I've done this for so long. So basically, I've got some maps.
Okay.
I am going to show that. I do feel that this is all related to the other cases that we've been doing. But I want to go first through some of the things, because some of the things that Lala got and some of the other ones, it's weird because I got some of the same things. So basically, I was shown the number 14. I have no clue what the number 14 means, but I was being shown that. I was showed trees. I was showed a roadway. And then it was like a maroon looking car that I was shown. There was something that she was going to reveal on the person that is involved in this. Now where it comes in funny, she was showing me a White House, and I feel that that's because I got multiple places that her remains was taken. And that's why I got different maps, because I feel like they moved her around. Now, this is where it gets interesting, because when I was shown the trees, it was like a Christmas tree. But also, this is something weird too. I was actually shown the words Sisters of Charity. Have no clue what that means. But then I was showed a cemetery and the word Nazareth.
Wow.
So that's really,
That's
really
amazing. Sisters of Charity is
Yes.
north of Bardstown in the town of Nazareth.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And concrete. I got concrete like Lala did, except she wasn't in the concrete until she was moved to the final place.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel that she was fully encased.
Mhm.
And it's going to be very, very hard to find her. So, now I'm going to see if I can do this.
Yes.
I'm not good with this, trying to maneuver all this stuff. Let me see here. Let's see, present.
Y'all are getting this.
And I just want to say thank you to all the admins and moderators for letting us go live in your groups tonight. Thank you very much. Okay, and action.
Okay, so now let me get the maps because I can't see that tiny stuff on here. So this is, and the way I do this, let me explain. When I teach psychic detective classes and I teach my students dowsing, I was taught by someone that was in the military that was over the remote viewing. And so this is in like with grizzl, he told us, who it was, where it was. So I start, so this picture, the first one here, where it's encased, that is just showing that it's in Bardstown. Okay. So that's what I do. I print it off and I start with where it happened, if I have that information. So then the second picture, if I can get it to go to that one. So I got hits in this area, and let me get my paper so maybe I can tell you, well, probably not tell you, but I'm going to try. It's awful minute. Pascal Bullard Lane. This is the area I got hits in. And this is where I felt her body was at one time. And then, so I go and I do the whole map, because see on here, well, you guys, it's the same as this. So I douse the whole map, and anywhere my pendulum gives me information, I mark it. So those are 3 areas. The blue here is water.
It's in 2 out of 3.
And so this here, I feel she was in this area at one point in time. Her remains was.
Lala got hits in 2 of those places, not all 3 of them, but 2 of those with her pendulum.
Yep, and that's what I got too. So let me see if I can get this off of here. Don't know if I can. Okay, I did. All right, so then from there, I started going further out. So let me bring up that one. So this is one of them. So this area here, I got a hit on. So let me find that so I can maybe look at maybe the road. I've got to find it here in my stuff. Okay, so this is Farmaway Drive and Popular Flat Road. And so I got hits here, and I felt like this was an area that her body was taken at some point in time, because they were moving her around until, like I said, they got her to the final place that they wanted her to be. So let me close that one. Now I do have some of the similar maps. So, and see, this is what, whenever I was doing this, and whenever I was working on this one specifically, I noticed, and that's why there's a White House, and I kept being shown a White House. And when I was shown this, I was showing that she was deceased at that time. So I got a hit there and a hit here. So I feel that, they had her in this area at one time where they actually did bury her in a shallow grave. Okay. And so basically that's the maps that I had. Now, I did want to share, Grizz, if it's okay, the composites of the three
Yes.
that I think is involved.
Absolutely.
Because
Great.
this, to me, these three, here's the main person.
Now, we identified this person during the first show during Jason Ellis's murder.
Yep.
And that closely resembles almost identically, ladies and gentlemen, Houck.
Brooks Houck.
Yes.
He's
So
arrested.
Wow.
The one with the $10 million cash bond.
I
Not
can't wait to see
10%.
the, I can't wait to
Cash
see the
bond.
next two, Melinda.
okay, I'm bringing them up now.
Wait.
Oh, hit the wrong button.
That's good.
Okay, here's the next one.
Yeah.
Now, remember, that is his coworker that's
Yep.
got arrested first.
Yep.
And he's the one that's in federal custody with the FBI. After he got arrested, after that, then Brooke Houck got arrested, remember?
Yep.
So we're thinking it's possible, we're assuming now, I don't have physical or written evidence in a court of law, that he's flipping because he got arrested. Then after he got arrested, he got into federal custody immediately, like off the block, out of the scene, out of the jail, everywhere. They took him, pulled him right out of the county or wherever he's at. So,
In witness protection, probably.
but, and here is the other one. Now, if you take off that mustache, who's that look like? It looks like his brother,
Uh-huh.
Bardstown police officer. Remember during the interview?
Nick.
Oh my God.
Oh, okay. Well, see, I haven't seen anything about any of it. But to me, the final resting place has something to do with the Sisters of Charity. It's somewhere in that area, whatever that is. And
You nailed a place. It's a real place.
and I do feel that she is completely encased with concrete. And that's going to be it's going to be very hard for them to find her.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm going to try to pull something real quick. I had it pulled up a minute ago.
They can do it with an industrial X-ray.
Yeah. True.
Bardstown.
You guys are amazing. I swear.
All right, here. All right, let me see if I can, let's see here. Present, share screen, and I want to show this one real quick.
Point of sale makes it
Y'all got
easy to
audio?
a retail business.
Yes.
All backed by powerful.
Okay.
Right now, a breakthrough in the Crystal Rogers case after 8 long years for the family and people of Bardstown. It's our top story right now at noon. A Nelson County man was arrested in connection to the Crystal Rogers disappearance. 32-year-old Joseph Lawson, that's him right there
Look
on
at
your
that
screen, is
face.
facing multiple charges. This is the first arrest and charges that we've seen in any of the 5 unsolved Bardstown cases. His charges are specifically tying him to Crystal Rogers' case. Now, Crystal disappeared over 4th of July weekend back in 2015. Her father, Tommy Ballard, later found her car along the Bluegrass Parkway. Inside, he found her keys, cell phone, and purse. Rogers had been presumed dead since October of 2015. And since then, Rogers' family, multiple law enforcement agencies, and many within the Nelson County community have worked endlessly to find answers. Now, what are those people working endlessly to find answers? Shay McAllister, you're joining us now live, of course, right here in the studio to help us break down this new development.
Yeah, so I think first let's get right to the charges so we know exactly what we're dealing with here. So the first charge is conspiracy to commit murder. This is in connection to an incident on 4th of July weekend, 2015. Important to note that is the very weekend that Crystal Rogers was reported missing, the last time anyone saw her alive. Some of the details we learned in the court documents, which we just got from the Nelson County Courthouse this morning, is Lawson's accused of agreeing to aid in the planning or commission of a crime intentionally causing the death of another person. He has pleaded not guilty to that one. The second charge in this case, tampering with physical evidence. Again, it's in connection to an incident on 4th of July week, in this case for when she was reported missing. This one breaks down to mean that he is accused of destroying, mutilating, concealing, or removing or altering physical evidence. in the
Mutilating
case.
or
We have
cutting.
no idea what that evidence could be. The details of these indictments are sealed. So really, we just know the details of the charges, not what they actually mean. Here's what we know about the timeline. So this indictment was filed in June of 2023. That is actually when the grand jury came back with the indictment earlier this summer. The arrest warrant was signed and executed in August, and he was just now arraigned in court yesterday. And when we say in court, we mean it loosely because he was actually in a hospital bed. Take a look.
The formal reading of the indictment has been effected. The court's going to enter pleas of not guilty in both cases. The court is going to.
I already told you that he has pleaded not guilty in both of these cases. You see him right there in the hospital bed. The only time I heard him talk while listening to this video from yesterday is when he was asked his birthday to confirm his identity, and he said, "Yes, sir, that's my birthday. That's it." Haley, they set another court date for the end of October.
Okay, so obviously there's still a ton of questions, a lot of answers you're still working on getting. But first of all, we've never heard this guy's name before in connection to this case. Do we know what that connection could be right now?
Well, as you can imagine, Nelson County, small community, rumor mill is flying. Everybody thinks they know the connection here.
Sure.
And we just have not confirmed it just yet. Lawson, his last name, is a name that we have heard in this case before. It was a name that was brought up during an interrogation with Brooks Houck back many, many years ago. Again, we're not connecting the two. We haven't been able to do that just yet. So we don't know how he may or may not.
There we go, ladies and gentlemen. But I just wanted to share that video to show you his identity.
Well, Melinda got the picture dead on.
Yes. So
Wow.
thank you, Melinda. If you want to stay backstage, next up, Kat, come on down. Introduce yourself. You're muted, honey. There you go.
Howdy. Hi, everybody. I'm Kath. I like to douse criminal psych, forensics, information security, fossicking, remote viewing, but I really do like to douse. I enjoy these cases. This last one has had me filled to the brim. A couple of weeks back, we said we'd just go for the location. So usually I do a big, you know how long my things are. They're like 10 pages or whatever to check everything out, the perps, everything like that. In this situation, we just went straight for location. So I didn't have the full investigative narrative. So when I did the location, I just asked a few basic questions to get going on the location. I doused to find my location. In this situation, I just had a few questions. And then because we were all front loaded, I just left it at those tiny questions. And then after I did the location, which was done similarly to Melinda, I had all the road names. So I had a general area, and then I tracked it from the last place she was seen, and then just kept zoning down in to get the location. And then because all the cases were joined up, I ended up doing a massive report. It's, I don't know, 20 pages or something, and it's joining all the dots for every case. A huge map with everything joining up. But because of the front loading, it was really quite tricky to eliminate any head fuzz, to keep it straight online without any interference. So first I did the location, and then I went back and did a proper summary and the full report that I usually do. I'm sorry, I don't know how to get the maps up to show you. But with the big report that I did, that was like 30 pages, I joined all the 7 murders up, and I did summaries for each of the cases that we'd done previously, and linked all of them in order. It really made me sick, like physically ill for about 5 days. But so last night I decided I wanted to verify my location data. So then I did the full investigative report. I'll read that out if you like.
please.
Okay, thanks. Okay, some of this stuff I have to leave out because I've named the perps, so I'm going to leave that out. Okay, it's hard because I'm on the phone. Okay, so UTL, USA, person, no other countries involved, 3 perps, law unfavourable, law involved in disappearance. Sorry, everybody, this is hypothetical. Beg my pardon. Taken against her will, in a sense, kidnapped. Interesting because there was no force or threat involved. They weren't highlighted. So I'd say she was at home, seemed okay. Anyway, I'll get onto it. The body has not been located, identified, or autopsied. Grizzl, sadly, is still between planes. The media are presently involved. The family are assisting, but not sincerely. The UTL has been over 8 years. I thought she was not found. Female, 30 to 40, blonde, blue eyes, white skin, 5 to 5'5". Jewelry, neck, hands, ears, piercings. The injuries to the head, body, arms, and hands. So she put up a fight. There was SA involved. There's a phone, watch, receiver, and a transmitter and a tracking device. Evidence is available and it has been found. Was removed before the burial. She was injured by a gun, knife. There's water involved, a vehicle involved, but only a tiny bit of involvement for the vehicle. Didn't go far. I've got why the gun and water, because the water, it threw me. Anyway, so I investigated that a bit further. The dots will join. Grizzl was drugged with a glass of water. Hands were used to hurt her. She's knifed, shot. One purpose close to her. He couldn't look at her when he shot her, thus the drugs at first. So she was totally gone by the time he couldn't look at her. She was SA after death, prior to burial. 3 perps, 2 males, 1 female. The first perp, I can't give the names because it might muck up the court case. The first shooter, the first perp, sorry, shooter, knife, and the SA. The second one helped carry, but didn't actually inflict. And the female was the one that sorted out all the drugging in the water. I'd love to say who I think they are, but I won't. The perp connections are family, friends, work associates. There are drugs and CT involved, WS, and government employees. Connected to a larger group, international, GC law, feds, CIA involved. Grizzl knew something they didn't want repeated. There was an affair, there was money and sex involved. There was a vehicle, a road involved in transportation. The Vic was drugged, fluid, drink, SA, dismembered. She was murdered at the home residence, south to southeast of the residence body location. She was already dead when they moved her. They were transported by the vehicle to the burial, helped by and unwrapped from the house to the burial, dismembered, then put in a blue barrel, plastic with some sort of fertilizer, acid fertilizer. She's buried 0 to 5 foot down. Oh, geez, hard to read. Underground, under Rio, under concrete. There's now a new building over the burial. The first search involved corrupt searches. She's within 1/4 mile from the residence, passed in transport. She's located on private residential rural land. Access was easy, planned. She was watched. There's footage. A neighbour close by knows what's going on. Opportunity, they lived close by. Family ties, work associates, regular visits to a certain location. There's money, trail and connections. people involved in official positions. The motive involved love, revenge, money, jealousy, threat from others, and orders from high up. There was a time there was a vehicle, acreage, arms, and martial arts involved. The perps are known to the government. They've not served time. They're not on parole, and they're not escaped cons. The perps were stable, threatened, angry, sad, manic, out of control, planned, but relieved. No feelings of regret. Believed they were doing the right thing for the safety of others. They were not paid. So that was the report after I'd done the location. When I first did the location, I only asked a few questions. So I asked, is she above ground, below, intact, concrete? That's how I ended up getting my, the Rio and the concrete. Dismembered, sorry, yes. Big soaring kind of machine. She's in some sort of a plastic drum. But from my understanding with the different locations, I'm pretty sure she was spread around as fertilizer. But the main part of her bod is in at this GPS position that I located. I can't name the people. Yeah, the acid, I had to zone down. I just got pesticide, farming, plants. Was there a crook involved in the first search of the farm? Because I couldn't understand why they didn't find her at first. Yes, that was corrupt reporting and corrupt searching the first search. And then I go into my maps and start zoning down. I was front loaded because I knew the different roads around the area, where they found the car, where the house was. So I started right back at the center of town and worked my way out and around and checked out the whole area to get that GPS position. Since that, I was working on an old Google map. I think it was 2020. Since then, there's been a building put over the site where I think she is. But I think the different locations is the spreading of the fertilizer. On one of the first searches, they did bring all the dogs out and they went to a certain patch that appeared to be like soil fertilizer. They couldn't find anything. I'm not sure DNA wise or genetics wise how that works out once it's spread about, but I'm pretty sure she's still under that concrete where they put another building over the top of it. But very sad. And the linkings, I've linked 7 altogether. So to this Bardstown butcherization. And they're all connected, except for Roger. But from Roger, I was able to go to Daniel. Then I was able to go all the way through. Right, Tommy, Ellis, Bob, I call them Red and Bob, Kathy and Samantha, and then also the sister, Tommy's sister that was killed as well. I ended up linking the whole lot, hopefully. But I enjoyed this case because it's my first ballistics case. And I found that really, really good and interesting. And that set me off on a whole different way of searching. Usually we don't have we haven't had that many shooting cases. This was my first ballistics, so I really enjoyed that. But very, very sad.
Mm-hmm. You're muted, Grizzly.
I did that. Yeah. So let's bring everybody back in and let me show this video real quick. If let's see here. Well, thought I had it up. Let me hit it again. So it's interesting that JC has found a place that sounds familiar to everybody's location. Do you notice that on 150 north of Bardstown? It's reference God and everything else. And
Just showing.
JC's comments I was displaying up on the screen.
Yes.
Yep.
So, all right, now let me see if I can play this.
Who is Nick Houck, and what does he know about some of the most high-profile murders in Bardstown?
The special prosecutor in the murder of Grizzl Rogers dropped a bombshell in court yesterday, revealing Nick Houck, the brother of the man charged in Rogers' murder, is being investigated for the murder of her father, Tommy Ballard.
We were waiting for testing to come back on the firearm we believe was used to murder Tommy Ballard, a firearm that we purchased from Nicholas Houck, who was using a fake name when he sold the rifle.
Brooks Houck is now in jail, charged with murdering Grizzl Rogers. Shortly after the mother of 5 disappeared, his brother Nick was fired from the Bardstown Police Department for interfering with the investigation. We have been digging deeper through old police interviews. In one of them, Nick explodes when an investigator told him he failed a lie detector test surrounding the disappearance of Grizzl Rogers.
Because you're telling me I'm lying and I know I'm not. I know the truth. You know?
I know the
I'm
truth.
100% honest with you,
Sure
and
does.
everybody else I've spoken with.
Here's what I'm getting. Well, you just said it.
Yes, I have.
No, you haven't.
I most definitely have. And if you don't want to believe it, that's your issue. It's not mine.
It's not just me.
Dude, I don't give a what your computer said.
Just before this heated exchange, Nick Houck sat calmly in his unbuttoned Bardstown police uniform as he's told he did not pass a lie detector test. Some of the questions: do you know where Grizzl is right now? And are you hiding any information about what happened to Grizzl?
You didn't tell me the truth on both of those questions. And it's no longer a matter of wondering, do you know anything about what happened? We're past that now. I'm no longer asking you if you know. You do.
Nick Houck sat in silence. The official then opens his computer to show Nick the results of his polygraph.
Yeah. You want to play poker?
100%.
The examiner also asked Nick about the phone call he made to Brooks while he was being questioned by a detective.
I know you told me innocent people have got jammed up, but if you're telling me to leave, I'll get up and leave.
And he asked Nick, as a police officer, why he wasn't more involved with helping find Grizzl.
Listen, they come up with all these lies about, well, there's bodily fluid in your car, there's blood. There is no way in hell there is any blood in that car. I'm just telling you, I didn't do it. I don't know nothing about it. I don't know anything about it. My brother, and I can tell you, I know him well enough, he didn't do it.
You asked him, what can I do?
There's nothing we can do, you know?
She's just gone.
I mean, hopefully, like I said, she'll show up any minute. And if not, obviously you guys are going to find her at some point. Find out how she was killed. Is there evidence under her fingernails? All this stuff. And it's not going to point toward him or me.
Look at him smiling.
Right. Deeper's the light.
Can you, Glenn?
Now, this interview happened shortly after Grizzl Rogers.
I know the truth.
Wow.
I love it. I know the truth. The truth. The truth. It's not what you say, it's how you say things, ladies and gentlemen. I told you that before on cases. So,
And when he was smiling, that's called Duper's delight.
The Duper's delight is really straightforward. That, and I cannot wait for these ballistics to come back.
and let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. When you are interviewing a suspect and you know that you got them between A and B and there's no getting out of this box, you show them your cards. Look, you passed the polygraph test, but these 2 questions. Now tell me the truth. So
the arrogance is so present there, and I get the same arrogance from that suspect that was the boyfriend. It's just like nobody can touch me type of arrogance.
Right.
And I got that impression. I mean, straight off of this, and there's other connections with this. But I still feel like I keep getting shown like there's somebody there that's going to be like that's taking it personally and really wants this solved and is going to do what it's going to take to get it there.
Does anyone know if Eli is Nick's child?
That I don't know. I don't know how the kids work or anything like that. I did not study that. But as you watch things, interviews, remember I told you, and War Criminal can concur on this, or he can speak up because of his background. The human body does not want to lie. And when given opportunities, they will tell the truth. Just like when we worked on that one case, ladies and gentlemen, somebody made a comment. They killed him. Remember?
Yeah.
That reference to me that they know who they are.
Right.
But once again, it's how you articulate and say things. So this is very troublesome, these cases that are in Bardstown, Kentucky. Yes, JC, I was actually looking up everything that you said, and you are spot on with what everybody is saying. And I was hoping Nancy would come back because she had some moments in the background when, did you hear some of the testimonial that bounced off you as well?
I have been listening to pretty much all of it. I had to pop out. I had clients calling in, so I had to pop off here and there.
Now,
but I did get the gist of most of it, yes.
Did you get JC's comments? Did you see those about the shrine and everything off 150, 20 minutes north?
Yeah, and I have to tell you, I know it's accurate because it's not a light bulb moment, but I get a very cold rush when something is accurate. Like it's like when you go into an area within a haunted house or what they call a haunted house, but when you're in an area where the energy levels change or fluctuate, that's how it feels to me when I know something is like I call it a zing. It's a zing. I know it's correct. It's accurate.
Right.
In fact, I was asking in the chat, what's the name of the town? Because that's how little I actually knew. I literally just focused on her picture. That was it. And I touched the picture and I read the energy from the picture. I think I've told Lala this many times. The internet is a great tool if you allow it to be. It is an energy superhighway. So if you can discern the energy, it can be quite effective. But this is not something I enjoy doing. I'll be very honest.
Yes, and you made that very verbally or outspoken when I first met you.
Yep. I feel it's very intrusive. The only reason I do it is because of the victim. And honestly, because she had children. It has nothing to do with her mother. It has nothing to do with the rest of her family. Because I got to tell you, the mother trips me out a little bit. I'm not going to lie. Something about her just tweaks me the wrong way. But the children, that's my concern. I don't ever want to see them. They're already damaged and damaged beyond belief. I don't even see how they can grow up to be normal members of society with all this that's involved, because there's so much darkness there. I can't, like the fact that there's this beautiful little religious haven right to the north. And that's, I think, why I think that's where she is. I think she's just a little bit north of that area because it's close. I know she's close to her house, but I think it's because of it was sacred ground. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like they thought that would kind of push people in a different direction. Like, who would do that? Right. That was kind of almost, to me, that was the thought process. Who would do that? Who would put somebody who was loved and cherished, who would put them? That's such a disrespect, knowing that people are not going to go tearing through an area like that because of the fact it's hallowed.
He makes the comment, there's also a monastery called Gethsemane there.
What's it called?
Gethsemane, Gethsemane.
Oh, I'm seeing it in the thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but it definitely, I mean, the connection to Nazareth, like I said, that's all I kept hearing was Nazarene and Christmas music. And then you got Polaris, so I was like, north, we're going north.
Right.
Turn north. But like I said, the only other thing I didn't mention was the duck hunting noise that I kept hearing when I was thinking about the vehicle that I know it was a decoy. It was absolutely decoy. She was not in that vehicle. She was never taken in that vehicle that was found abandoned. But I kept hearing like duck calling. God, you don't want to be in my head. I'm like, what? Is that a duck call? Why am I hearing duck calling? Oh my God.
Right.
So when people were saying water, because that was the one thing I really didn't get a hit on was water. But and I thought, you know what, that could have been the duck calling. Maybe that car was out near water somewhere, or there was a hunting element involved. Now, I've not had the pleasure of participating in this case at all. So I didn't know any of the back history. I didn't know about the father. I didn't know about any of that. But I guarantee that father, because as I'm listening to people talk, I'm like, okay, so the father died. I guarantee that was a gunshot wound. I guarantee that had to do with hunting.
Yes, it did.
So I'm wondering if they were hunting ducks, because God help me if I hear another duck call.
Right. So,
well, I want to remind everybody the first case in the series, there were multiple shotgun shots involved in the murder of a police officer, which was a clear setup job. And shotguns in that part of Kentucky are typically used by hunters.
Yep.
So it's very interesting to see everybody across the board. And I'm glad, Nancy, you joined us and joined the group. Christina George was not able to make it tonight. And she didn't get to really work on the case, but she came up with the same information that everybody else has. So I did want to give her credit too. She got tied up, so she'll make an appearance on another show. Now, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, reminder that usually when we work on these cases, they do not know any information beforehand. But since all these murders were tied and we're trying to recover remains, I disclosed the name and city and location, the last and everything to them. So this is unusual. So that's why Kat kept saying front loaded. She was giving information up front. However, I got a spin for the group. Not this coming Monday, next Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to have questions for whoever wants to be involved on a case. It's not going to be humans, but you're going to be brought onto the show, and I'll give you the questions beforehand so you can work your magic. I'll give you a week's notice, and then I'll bring you on the show one at a time, and you can recite your answers to these questions. So these are going to be people across the world that has certain questions. I'm not going to say anything else.
So what date is that?
So not this Monday. Let me get my calendar out because I'm trying to get everybody prepped.
And what time?
December 10th.
Time.
9 o'clock?
Yeah, so that would be December 11th is on a Monday. December 11th at 9 p.m. Go ahead, Nancy.
Can I make a request?
Absolutely.
Can you, whatever questions you have, can you send them to me like an hour before the show? I don't like having information or I don't like ruminating. So to me, it gives way too much time for things to go into places they shouldn't. I like going with my initial gut reaction and the initial, what I'm hearing, what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling. Because I know they're not mine. And if I've had too much time to focus on it, I can't guarantee that I'm not going to let other things infiltrate. So I'd rather get a very short notice so it's fresh.
Not a problem. So, and Bob and I will get another case for the show for you all. Will be on the 22nd of December at 6 o'clock. So that'll be the other date. And we'll have a new case. And this time you will only have a picture. So, and I'll get that out to everybody. And anybody want to say anything before we wrap up and let everybody go?
Thanks for being here.
Yes, thank you all.
This is a great crew. They're really good.
This was good. Yeah.
Hopefully we get some resolution, and hopefully that people that are watching, which I know who you are because we spoke, hopefully this help you out in investigating. If you need anything from us, you know how to get a hold of us. And from coast to coast and around the world, ladies and gentlemen, have a good night.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.